Hello, thank you so much for staying with me at this time. It's also the first time ever when I'm delivering a presentation holding a microphone, so if I forget about it, just remind me. And so before even I start, there is an opportunity I can tailor a bit this presentation, so I wanted to get a sense of the audience. So can you please raise a hand if if in your company you have a UX researcher? Okay. And have you ever, are you working directly with a UX researcher? So a bit less hands. Okay. And do you directly work with the user feedback? So more user feedback than UX researchers. Okay, so I will try also within my presentation, try to focus on what I'm doing as a UX researcher and how to actually work with me. And my name is Marta. I'm working as a UX researcher at Google, but it wasn't always like this. So basically, I spent almost 10 years working in different international organizations, but eventually I got a scholarship, I moved to States, and I studied information experience design. When I came back to Poland, the pandemic hit, and I got a job in one of the UX agencies, where I directly started to work on the funnel optimization. However, the thing was that I didn't understand that I didn't know it's called funnel optimization. And I was doing a lot of usability tests, and I was focusing on improving the user experience. And this was, as a UX researcher, it's the key thing for me and always the most important. After 1 year, I moved to the IBM, where I worked at cybersecurity, so not much of the funnel optimization, but I moved back to Google. And at Google, this is my main focus. I'm working at the Fitbit Premium Growth, so I work for the user acquisition and user retention. And I wanted to start from the very basics because I didn't know who will be in the audience. So it's to decipher the UX research. We're starting from the UX. When we're thinking the UX is basically the process of designing a solution by understanding user behaviors, needs, and motivations. And the solution, this is your product, this is your service. As a UX researcher, I focus on the user behaviors, needs, and motivations. So this is the key thing for me, to understand the user and actually to speak for the user. So to be the voice of the user and to represent them within when the company is making decisions. And for Google, and actually this was one of the reasons why I wanted to work for Google, there is this one of the 10 things we know to be true. So so focus on the user and everything else will follow. At IBM, this was a similar approach. So they had 4 in the box, where the product management, engineering, UX design, and UX research were working all together to create the products which would delight the users. And then, this is what I heard from one of my colleagues from Amazon, they also, when they are making making important decisions, they are leaving one empty chair in the room, which is supposed to symbolize the user and the user needs. So there are so many, we all know when we are designing something that user is the key, but always this is the tricky part to always remember about it. And that's where me as a UX researcher, I'm coming to. So as I was previously mentioning, I have to focus on the user behaviors, needs, and motivation. And when we think about the funnel and the funnel optimization, I can see 2 different approaches, 2 different dimensions. The first one is related to focusing on the user motivations and needs. So we have here the basic funnel, where we have the awareness, consideration, conversion, and loyalty. Obviously, the user should be everywhere, in each stage of this funnel. But for the purpose of this presentation, I will just focus on the awareness and consideration. So when we are thinking, we have to think about creating products for the users. We have to respond to those big questions. Who are our users? What are the needs, problems, motivations, what to build? Because if we make this wrong, then we are creating something which will not be useful. And in theory, this is something when I was watching the previous presentations, I heard so many speeches about it and talks, but very often products fail because we forget about the users. And This is actually the study case, so I had a couple of study case prepared for you. Not all of them, they are related to the apps, because I can't talk about the work I was doing previously, but I thought that these are the cases which are meaningful for us. And I called it a red carpet case, and it's the case from the 1925, actually. So there was a Henry Dreyfus who was hired by one of the theaters to try to understand why people are not going to this theater. The theater was in Sioux City in Iowa. And it was a beautiful theater. Everything was there. It was really prepared like to delight users. They had amazing performances. So everything was working well, but it's like no one was coming there. It was empty. People were like going to the theater next to it. Dreyfus came there and looked around and was wondering like, okay, what can I do? So he started to improve the product. He gave the free meals to the people who are coming. He lowered the price so people will come. He tried to improve the content as well, but it didn't really work out. And people were still going to another theater. So what he did, he actually went to the other theater and started to listen to the audience and to the people over there. And he actually heard that someone said that, oh, we're actually worried that if we will go on this red carpet, which was opening the way, leading the way to the new theater, to the beautiful theater, they will make it muddy. And he realized that, okay, actually this is our audience are the people who are working this small town, which are farmers, and they are afraid to make it muddy, the carpet. So what if we take the carpet away? People started to come and they were going to this theater. And this is the story from 1925. And still, the audience, who is the audience? This was the most important, it was the key to the success of this theater. So we know the audience is there, we know the user is there, and this is the story which is happening for all those years, that if we want to achieve the success in our product, then we have to look at the user. And as a UX researcher, I have different ways in which I'm trying to achieve and I'm trying to speak up for the users. So I can go and I can do the user interviews. So I can talk with the people and try to understand their needs and the behaviors. And as a UX researcher, I studied a couple of years to learn how to do this properly, but this is not a knowledge which is just for a UX researcher. This is like knowledge for everyone, how to ask questions. It's easy to learn it, and it's just for everyone to make it better. So we have also the surveys, and this is the quantitative data. If we have the proper research question, we can use it to get the answers. We do the competitive research. We look what the other people are doing, the competition, so we can make our products better. And we do the ethnographic research, which is basically what the Dreyfus did. Just went and observed the users. The possible outputs are the personas. I heard about the personas that you are all using them. So that's one of the options. We can also use jobs to be done. So these are the tasks which our users want to achieve with our product. So that's the other possible outcome. But we have also, we're coming back, and I want to like nicely lead to the second dimension of how UX research can help to make the products better. So we talked about the needs, we talked about motivations of the users, but we have also the behaviors. And this is the second dimension, which is focused on the user behaviors. And to be honest, this is something which I think we as the UX researchers are usually hired for, which means usability testing and checking when the product is already done to check if the users actually like it, if this fulfills their requirements. That's how I got my first job when I was hired, and I was asked to do the usability testing for one of the e-commerce sites. And we have like questions regarding the user behavior before even we have the app. So how to build it, will it fit to the user's current workflow? What are the opportunities and what people think about our concept? Then we have also the questions once we have already created the app. So then we are checking, do people understand the copy? Do people understand the flow? How people are using it? What is the context they are using it? And if they like it. So this is where I was actually involved, and I was trying to understand the user's behavior and improve the product. That's also the moment when we are working the most with UX designers. And there is one of the study case, it's from Instagram. So in 2010, the Instagram was used to be sharing like the photos and within the people you knew. With time, they realized that it's good to add the liking button so people could like the photos. This had another impact, so people started to curate the photos to make them nicer and really put a lot of effort. So there was less content, and which was worried that people who were making it, product managers, they were worried that if there is less content, people will be using the Instagram less. So they created the stories, which everyone started to use more Instagram. And this was, again, observing what the users are actually doing. And again, Instagram, everyone is using the stories. So as the UX researcher, that's how I'm observing the users. I give them the tasks, I ask them the opinions, how they should, what they think about the task. I observe them. Are they getting lost somewhere? And that's something which all you can do. So you can write, if you have the app, you can think about the most popular task which the user is supposed to do. And then give the task and just see, do they actually follow? Do they know where they are going? We can also do the A/B testing. So propose different types of the design, which one works better. Eye tracking, that's the fun part when we are actually checking whether the user is looking at. And the card sorting, tree testing, so we are testing the information architecture, if the information of the apps makes sense. So as the possible output, we would have the optimized and reviewed user journeys. And there is the last, basically, the study case. This is something what I was working a couple of years ago. I was working closely with the UX design, and we were asked to create, actually UX design was asked to create a subscription model for the e-commerce site. UX design, they created the flows, which were really nice, and my task was to test it. The problem was that when I was testing the flows, people didn't really understand what is happening there, because they didn't understand the concept of the subscription. We didn't get it right. So eventually, I had to do the research about the mental models of the subscriptions, what is it about, and then we had to recreate the flows. So we lost a couple of weeks of our work, which could have been done, if we could have finished the flows earlier, if the fundamental research about what people think about the subscriptions would be done earlier. So that's something I think it's important to remember about those two dimensions of the user, of involving UX researchers. The first one, the motivations, needs, but also the behavior of the product, on the product, because they all are interlinked to each other. Questions?